Big time main event, and it is finally time for these guys to lock horns. We have Derek Brunson taking on the gorilla Darren Till. And for Darren Till, it's been a long time away from the octagon. If this is your first time tuning in with Fight Night Picks, we'd certainly appreciate the like and the sub. You're not going to be disappointed, and hopefully you do like this video, because if it's anything like this fight, hopefully it delivers, Matt. For Derek Brunson, wild resurgence. I mean, he had those two big losses. One was to Jacare Souza, one was to Israel Adesanya. He gets finished in both of them. I'd say the Jacare fight probably hurt the ego a little bit more because it was close to a hometown fight. But since then, big wins over Elias Theodorou, see you later out of the UFC, Ian Heinisch, Edmund Shabazian where he finishes them, and Kevin Holland where he pretty well dominated pillar to post. Did he eat a few shots through the guard? Yeah, sure, but he put on a very impressive performance, and he gets to really steal the thunder of 2017-2018's biggest star in the UFC, Darren Till, a guy who took welterweight by storm, ultimately lost in his opportunity for the belt against Tyron Woodley, boxing royalty. But if you look at the 5-on-in, he beat Wonderboy at home. Close fight, right? He loses to Woodley, he loses to Masvidal, gets finished, he beats Gastelum by split decision, and he loses to Robert Whittaker in a knock him out, drag him out type of fight. Now, that Whittaker fight, in my mind's eye, but in reality, was a long time ago. It was a year and a month ago, whereas for Derek Brunson, the win streak, 2 years, 3 months, but Shabazian was a year ago, and he just beat Kevin Holland 5 months ago. Again, look great. The change over to Sanford MMA has paid off in spades for him, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of a game plan he comes in here with against Darren Till, who, through his UFC career that began in about 2015, has sported great takedown defense.
He really has, and that's going to be the massive speaking point in this fight, because Derek Brunson's a weird fighter, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. Is he the first fighter to go to Sanford MMA, and his striking kind of get worse, but his wrestling get way better? The weird thing about Derek Brunson is, I don't think he's as good of a striker as he was, for instance, the first time he fought Robert Whittaker, right coming off the win over Uriah Hall.
This isn't Strikeforce striking Derek Brunson.
No, I think he was terrible at striking there, too. It was only in the UFC run. The thing about Derek Brunson, though, is after he figured out, hey, I don't have the best chin and I do get hurt on the feet, why don't I just wrestle, guys? It's really hard to land an overhand right off your back, and it's worked out great for him as of late. The weird thing, though, is, and I'm going to say this now, I'm kind of siding towards Darren Till, but I'm going to lay out all the reasons why you probably shouldn't listen to what I'm about to say. His last 2 wins are a split decision over a guy who's looked awful against top-level competition at middleweight, and a hometown decision against Wonderboy Thompson that a lot of people thought he lost.
Hardly any activity in that fight, too.
I still think he's going to win this fight, because the weird thing about Darren Till is he has all of the defensive attributes you look for when you're fighting a guy like Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson's real big weapons on the feet are his left overhand, his left hook, and his double leg takedowns. Darren Till's whole game is built around stopping similar weapons. And when I look at Darren Till and what he's able to do defensively on the feet, yeah, it might not always result in very exciting fights, but I always go to the interview that Robert Whittaker gave right after his fight against Darren Till. They go, Robert, how do you feel after that fight? And he goes, man, I'm so stressed out right now, because when you're fighting Darren Till for 25 minutes and you're just on edge the whole entire time, you have to watch out for that strike coming back your way. I think Robert Whittaker has that level of fight IQ to where for 25 minutes he can think, okay, I have to watch out for these feints and these are the attacks that he's setting up. That's the thing that I don't know Derek Brunson has. I think Derek Brunson could go out there and out-wrestle Darren Till for 3 rounds, kind of like he did to Kevin Holland. I think he can get top control and he can land good ground and pound in this fight. My thing is that Derek Brunson's always going to be susceptible to getting hit by those shots. Even go back and look at that Kevin Holland fight. You said it perfectly in the opening. He's dominated Kevin Holland for the entirety of their fight. And then midway through the 4th round, Kevin Holland lands like a looping left hook, a right straight. And yeah, it doesn't drop Derek Brunson, but it's one of those weird like Uriah Hall, Paulo Costas where it's like, okay, you were definitely stunned at a minimum. And that's the thing. If Kevin Holland, who really is a welterweight if we're all being honest, can hurt Derek Brunson on the feet in the 5th round of a fight that he's basically been defending takedowns for 20 of those minutes, I think Darren Till can probably land a similar shot. And this is the weird thing. I know we say this a lot in the channel. If one guy's well-rounded and the other guy's chance is only a knockout punch, 9 times out of 10 we're going to go with the guy who's more well-rounded. I think Derek Brunson's probably the more well-rounded fighter. He's definitely the better wrestler. I doubt I'm going to get any arguments on that. He's probably the better grappler when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I just think the counter-striking of Darren Till is the type of game that Derek Brunson struggles with. He does leave his chin open when he rushes forward, and those are the type of fighters who Darren Till can tee off fun.
And I mean, with Darren Till, he keeps that left hand cocked and he keeps it low, which is kind of weird, especially when you're taking on a guy like Brunson. Good for takedown defense, but really good for those counters as well. And for Till, I mean, both guys southpaws in this one. For Till, if you look at it, I mean, you want to talk about a southpaw win. What? He was able to beat Kelvin Gastelum. He's a southpaw. Whitaker's not. Masvidal's not. Woodley's not. Wonder Boy from both. But for Derek Brunson, again, you look at it. He had that 3-round main event against Edmund Shabazian, whose cardio is bad. He had the 5-round main event against Kevin Holland, whose cardio is a thing. And then this was supposed to be a main event back in August, but they moved it to this date. For Darren Till, that's the big thing about fights moving around. He's supposed to take on Hermanson late last year. He got hurt. He's supposed to take on Marvin Vettori. He got hurt and broke his collarbone. Then there was supposed to be this fight, and they moved it around a little bit. So, again, Derek Brunson, how good has he gotten at kind of defending against some of those lapses, especially against a big, rangy, powerful southpaw in a guy like Till, because he was able to crack even Whitaker a couple times in that fight.
He was, and people come after me for saying this. Darren Till probably kind of won the Robert Whitaker fight. Like, he hurts him twice in that fight. If you watch the fight, that's not controversial. He cuts him in the 5th round, which was the biggest strike of the fight, so he could have won the 5th round. He drops him in the 1st round with an elbow, and then the 3rd round he hurts him and puts him on baby deer legs. If you hurt a guy 3 times in a 5-round fight, more often than not, you're going to win that fight. Now, Robert Whitaker has great success in that fight, and a lot of his success comes down to his wrestling. And I think Derek Brunson is probably a better wrestler than Robert Whitaker is. The thing, though, is that Robert Whitaker chains everything together a lot better than Derek Brunson does. Derek Brunson is one of the highest level fighters who is in striking mode, then in wrestling mode. He doesn't really have this fluidity between the two, and that's why I think he's going to get caught. It's on the in-betweens. I honestly think Marvin Vettori is oddly a terrible matchup for Darren Till because he is defensively sound, getting his way into the clinch before he goes for his takedowns. The fact that Derek Brunson does reach for the single leg, the fact that he does reach for the clinch sometimes, with Darren Till's upright stance and upright style, I do think that's just going to open a massive opportunity for him to land an elbow or a straight shot. The last thing, though, that I will say, and this is a massive benefit for Derek Brunson, it's going to give him a lot of confidence going into this fight. Who was the last primary striker who he knocked out who was a southpaw? Well, Lyoto Machida. And Lyoto Machida, stylistically, he throws a lot more kicks than Darren Till, but they are both counter-strikers who wait on the back foot. There's just a few similarities there. So it's not like it's impossible for Derek Brunson to win this fight. Like I said, he's the better wrestler, and Derek Brunson does have big power. It's just, I feel like he's gotten a little more wild with his technique as he's gotten older, and a lot of his winging shots are more for him to set up the takedowns. And I think that when you're throwing strikes to set up other things, that's when Darren Till's going to catch you.
Brunson coming in on a 4-fight win streak, Till 1-3 in his last 4, and I think that's reflected in the odds because Brunson opened an average minus 138 favorite. He's minus 176 right now. Till open a plus 115. He's plus 147. If we have a look at the Topology votes, Matt, not really that close. 596 total votes. So it's a small sample size. 66% Till, 69% by knockout for the 34% that have Brunson, 74% by decision. I like Brunson's wrestling in the 1st, in the 2nd, in the 3rd, in the 4th I worry, in the 5th I worry. I like Till's staying power in the fight. We saw that in the one against Robert Whitaker. And I think overall volume could even favor Darren Till. But Darren Till's got that weird story, and I'm not going to get into it because it's not 2017. I don't have to hype it. But he's got that story of going to Brazil, really working his jiu-jitsu. I haven't seen it in an MMA fight. Like, it's one of those things that's mythic. It's like Shogun Hua's black belt. We just never see it.
Very different. Shogun Hua has a black belt that we don't see because it is made up. Darren Till's never said, I'm great at jiu-jitsu because I lived in Brazil. He was still primarily practicing Muay Thai in Brazil.
Maybe it's just an underground king type of thing. But for me, I wonder what Till's going to be able to do. Again, I talked about it. He's got that left hand cocked, a la Machida, and if he gets backed up, he can definitely crack Derek Brunson. We've seen multiple fighters do it. Even fighters on the front foot. I mean, look at Jacare Souza. Pressure, knockout. So there's definitely a path out there. I just favor Derek Brunson's wrestling in this one. I know there's a 10-year age gap that favors Till in this fight. It's just, I haven't seen him. The last time that he won a fight convincingly was against who? Bojan Velichkovic? Was that who it was?
He beat Kelvin Gastelum convincingly. That wasn't a close fight.
So we'll go that way, but I do like Brunson in this one.
I just think Brunson leaves himself open too big. I keep on going to Aim big, miss big. And that's what Derek Brunson does. When he lands with power shots, yes, they have a big effect, but it's so few and far in between those big power shots. Derek Brunson at one point did kind of strike like Daniel Rodriguez. He was upright. He did have great boxing, but again, when you look at him now, he rushes into his wrestling a lot. And if he did have slightly better, I would even say just clinch control, because the clinch would just be a way for him to initiate the wrestling a little bit better, then I would have an easier time picking Derek Brunson. But I don't like his durability, and I do like Darren Till's cardio in this one, so I'm going to have to stick with Darren Till pick.
Hopefully that change to Sanford MMA continues to work out. I mean, it's worked out great for him. Kasang and I moving down a weight class.
Brennan Allen looks great too.
Guy that he trains with, guys that he trains with. So we're split on the pick. I've got Brunson in this one. You're going with Darren Till. Let us know down below in the comments section, as you do with every single video, what you liked, what you didn't like, but more importantly, who you got in this fight. You can also hit up the super thanks if you feel obliged to. We would certainly appreciate it as you support the channel. We do these videos week in and week out. If there's any switches of the picks, any switches of the videos, I should say, or of the fights, we'll update those as needed. And if you really like us, you can definitely check us out at 15-minute card breaks. It's our second channel. We just opened some UFC Panini H2 Select, the latest drop from Panini with the UFC. Some great cards there. So link down below in the description for that. We get some great fights coming up this weekend with UFC Vegas 36, headlined by Brunson and Till. I've got Brunson, you've got Till. Great weekend of fights scheduled ahead. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say, let's get into it.